back at it again. I'm super. Gosh, that sun. Hold on, let me see if I can fix it. Hey. Okay, so from yesterday, we learned that he was reading letters from his mother, and we are just going to pick back up because there is another letter. So here we go. All right. Then I opened a third envelope. This was a letter that was inside. Dear Christopher, well, I said I'd write to you every week, and I have. In fact, this is the second letter this week, so I'm not doing even better than I said I would. I have got a job. I'm working in Camden at Perkin and Rashid, which is a chartered surveyors. That means they go around looking at houses and work out how much they should cost and what work needs to be done on them and how much that work will cost. And also they work out how much new houses and offices and factories will cost to build. It's a nice office. The other secretary is Angie. Her desk is covered in little teddy bears and furry toys and pictures of her children. So I've put a picture of you in a frame on my desk. She's really nice and we've always gone out to lunch together. I don't know how long I'll stay here though. I have to do a lot of adding up of numbers for when we send bills out to clients, and I'm not very good at doing this. You'd be better at this. The company is run by two men called Mr. Perkin and Mr. Rashid. Mr. Rashid is from Pakistan and very stern and always wants us to work faster. And Mr. Perkin is weird. Angie calls him Pervy Perkin. When he comes and stands next to me to ask a question, he always puts his hand on my shoulder and squats down to his face is really near mine, and I can smell his toothpaste, which gives me the creeps. And the pay is not very good either, so I shall be looking for something better as soon as I get the chance. I went up to Alexandra Palace the other day. It's a big park just around the corner from our flat, and the park is a huge hill with a big conference center on the top, and it made me think of you because if you came here, we could go here and fly kites or watch the planes coming in Heathrow Airport, and I know that you'd like that. I have to go now, Christopher. I'm writing this on my lunch hour. Angie is off sick with the flu, so we can't have lunch together. Please write to me sometime and tell me how you are and what you're doing at school. I hope you got the present I sent you. Have you solved it yet? Roger and I saw it in a shop in Camden Market, and I know you've always liked puzzles. Roger tried to get the two pieces apart before we wrapped it up, and he couldn't do it. He said that if you managed to do it, you were a genius. Loads and loads of love, your mother. And this was the fourth letter. Dear Christopher, I'm sorry I didn't write last week. I had to go to the dentist and have two of my molars out. You might not remember when we had to take you to the dentist. You wouldn't let anyone put their hand inside your mouth, so we had to put you to sleep so that the dentist could take your teeth out. Well, they didn't put me to sleep. They just gave me what is called a local anesthetic, which means that you can't feel anything in your mouth, which is just as well because they had to saw through the bone to get the tooth out. And it didn't hurt at all. In fact, I was laughing because the dentist had to tug and pull and strain so much, and it seemed really funny to me. But when I got home, the pain started to come back, and I had to lie on the sofa for 2 days and take lots of painkillers. Then I stopped reading the letter because I felt sick. Mother had not had a heart attack. Mother had not died. Mother had been alive all this time, and Father had lied about it. I tried really hard to think if there was any other explanation, but I couldn't think of one. And then I couldn't think of anything at all because my brain wouldn't work properly. I felt giddy. It was like the room was swinging from side to side as if it was the top of a really tall building, and the building was swinging backward and forward as the strong wind. This is a simile, too. But I knew that the room couldn't be swinging backward and forward, so it must have been something that was happening inside my head. I rolled onto the bed and curled up into a ball. My stomach hurt. I don't know what happened then because there's a gap in my memory, like a bit of a tape that had been erased. But I know that a lot of time must have been passed because later on, when I opened my eyes again, I could see that it was dark outside the window. And I had been sick because there was sick all over the bed, in my hands and arms and face. But before this, I heard Father coming into the house and calling out my name, which is another reason why I know a lot of time has passed. And it was strange because he was calling Christopher, Christopher, and I could see my name written out as he was saying it. Often I can see what someone is saying written out like it is being printed on a computer screen, especially if they're in another room. But this was not on a computer screen. I could see it written really large, like it was on a big advertisement on the side of a bus, and it was in my mother's handwriting, like this, Christopher, Christopher. And then I heard Father come up to the stairs and walk into the room. Christopher, what the hell are you doing? And I could tell that he was in the room, but his voice sounded tiny and far away, like people's voices sometimes do when I'm groaning and I don't want them to be near me. And he said, what the F are you doing? That's my cupboard, Christopher. Those are... Oh, shit. Then he said nothing for a while. Then he put his hand on my shoulder and moved me to the side and said, oh, Christ. But it didn't hurt when he touched me like it normally does. I could see him touching me like I was watching a film of what was happening in the room. but I could hardly feel his hand at all. It was like the wind blowing against me. And then he was silent again. Then he said, "I'm sorry, Christopher. I'm so, so sorry." Then he said, "You read the letters." Then I could hear... There's a big fly in here. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Then I could hear that he was crying because his breath sounded all bubbly and wet like it does when someone has a cold and they have lots of snot in their nose. Then he said, "I did it for your own good, Christopher. Honestly, I did. I never meant to lie. I just thought it would be better if you didn't know that I didn't mean to. I was going to show them to you when you were older." Then he was silent again. Then he said, "It was an accident." Then he was silent again. Then he said, "I didn't know what to say. I was in such a mess. She left the note, and then she rang, and I said she was in the hospital because I didn't know how to explain. It was so complicated, so difficult. And I said she was in the hospital, and I know it wasn't true, but once I said that, I just couldn't change it. Do you understand? Christopher? Christopher? It just got out of control, and I wish..." Then he was silent for a very long time. He touched me on the shoulder again and said, "Christopher, we have to get you cleaned up, okay?" He shook my shoulder a little bit, but I didn't move. And he said, "Christopher, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to run you a hot bath. Then I'm going to come back and take you to the bathroom, okay? Then I can put the sheets into the washing machine." I heard him get up and go to the bathroom and turn the taps on. I listened to the water running into the bath. He didn't come back for a while. Then he came back and touched my shoulder again and said, "Let's do this really gently, Christopher. Let's sit you up and get your clothes off and get you into the bath, okay? I'm gonna have to touch you, but it's going to be all right." Then he lifted me up and made me sit on the side of the bed. He took my jumper and my shirt off and put them on the bed. Then he made me stand up and walk to the bathroom. I didn't scream, and I didn't fight, and I didn't hit him. 163. When I was little and I first went to school, my main teacher was called Julie because Miss S hadn't started working at the school then. She only started working at the school when I was 12. And one day Julie sat down at the computer next to me and put a tube of Smarties on my desk and said, "Christopher, what do you think is in here?" And I said, "Smarties." Then she took the top of the Smarties tube off and turned it upside down, and a little red pencil came out, and she laughed. "It's not Smarties, it's a pencil." Then she put the little red pencil back inside the Smarties tube and put the top back on. Then she said, "If your mommy came in now and we asked her what was inside the Smarties tube, what do you think she would say?" Because I used to call her mommy, not mother, back then. "A pencil," I said. That was because when I was little, I didn't understand about having other people's mind. And Julie said to Mother and Father that I was always find this very difficult. But I don't find this difficult now, because I decided that it was kind of a puzzle, and if something is a puzzle, there's always a way of solving it. It's like computers. People think computers are different from people's because they don't have minds, even though in the Turing test, computers can have conversations with people about the weather and wine and Italy, and they can even tell jokes. But the mind is just a complicated machine. And when we look at things, we think we're looking out of our eyes while we're looking out of little windows, and there's a person inside our head, but we're not. We're looking at a screen inside our heads like a computer screen. And you can tell this because of an experiment which I saw on TV called How the Mind Works. And in this experiment, you could put your head in a clamp and you look at the page of writing on a screen. And it looks like a normal page of writing and nothing is changing. But after a while, as your eyes move around the page, you realize that something is very strange, because you try to read a bit of a page, but you've read before, and it's different. And this is because when your eye flicks from one point to another, you don't see anything at all and you're blind. And the flicks are called saccades. Because if you saw everything when your eye flicked from one point to another, you'd feel giddy. In the experiment, there's a sensor which tells you your eye is flicking from one place to another. And when it's doing this, it changes some of the words on the page in a place where you're not looking. But you don't notice that you're blind during saccades because your brain fills in the screen in your head to make it seem like you're looking out of two little windows in your head. And you don't notice that the words have changed on another part of the page because your mind fills in picture of things that you're not looking at that moment. And people are different from animals because they have pictures on the screens in their heads of things which they are not looking at. They can have pictures of something in another room, or they can have a picture of what's going to happen tomorrow, or they can have pictures of themselves as an astronaut, or they can have pictures of really big numbers. And this is why a dog can go to the vet and have a really big operation and have metal pins sticking out of its leg, but if it sees a cat, it forgets that it has pins sticking out of its leg and chases after the cat. But when a person has an operation, it has a picture in its head of the hurt carrying on for months and months, and it has a picture of all the stitches in its legs and the broken bone and the pins, and even if it sees a bus it has to catch, it doesn't run because it has a picture in its head of the bones crunching together and the sticks breaking in even more pain. And this is why people think that computers don't have minds, and why people think that their brains are special and different from computers. Because people can see the screen inside their head and they think that there is someone in their head looking at the screen. Blah, blah, blah. Also, people think they're not computers because they have feelings, and computers don't have feelings. But feelings are just having a picture on your screen in your head of what is going to happen tomorrow or next year, or what might happen instead of what did happen. And if it's a happy picture, they smile, and if it's a sad picture, they cry. How much time? Okay, we're gonna stop right there. Oh, still going. Hello. So today's gonna be a makeup day. So you're gonna answer the couple questions about what we just read, and then you're going to look at progress book and see, okay, what am I missing first in math class, because we care about math class. If you're missing something, if you don't have a grade for it. I haven't marked anything missing, like the actual button, but if you see that you don't have a grade for it, that means that I don't have it, so you need to email me when you complete it and say, hey, I completed bell work 4-7, and then I can look at it and see what's happening. So to get credit for today, you have to do the bell ringer, and then you have to email me, this is important, email me what you plan on doing to make up work. So you say, I plan on doing this in math class, so I want, like, if you have missing work, you need to get it done, and then email me that you got it done. If you don't have missing work in my class, you still need to email me and say, I don't have anything missing, all my grades are complete, but you also need to check your other classes, and I can go in and see, okay, what's going on in your other classes. So today's going to be a makeup day. Get it done. You're welcome. Key thing, email me no matter what. I want to hear from you. What either you plan on doing for makeup day, or if you have absolutely nothing missing, just to say hi, and then I can double check everything else. Alright, love you. I'll see you guys on the screen tomorrow. Love you. Have a good day. Miss you.